This is Three Shepherds and a Mutt, back again with another really depressing video, and I swear, every time recently I've thought to myself, oh, I'm gonna start uploading more dog videos, and, I think my health issues are kind of plateaued to the point where I can do that. Something happens, I swear, and we have been hit so hard with traumatic things recently, and I'm like, I don't know how much more I can take, to be honest. So, my last video was a pet grief and loss video, and we're just gonna call this pet grief and loss video part 2. And I just hate being here doing this. I can't. So, we lost Athena, aka Big Bird. I can't remember how I referred to her on here because it's been an even longer time since I've done any videos with my cockatiel, Athena. Her pet name was Big Bird. There's a couple on here, and I'm so glad I have those to at least go back and look at, and I still have some photographs, although, side note, I lost pretty much all of my photographs of my dogs, like older photographs of my dogs and my cockatiel when I broke my last phone. That's just a side note, but I do have some photographs of her that I still have left, thankfully. So let me explain what happened. This has been a little bit ago, so I've cried my eyeballs out enough. I don't think I will break down in this video, but it's been known to happen because I think I broke down in the Sophie video. Hopefully that won't happen though. So we had smoke pollution due to the Canadian wildfires, and I know we weren't the only ones. Like, a lot of people had, because of the raging wildfires, the smoke and the air quality was down, and I am very cautious. So I don't mean to keep running off on a tangent. Forgive me if you're actually trying to follow this in a coherent way and absorb the information. But another side note, I've always been very cautious with what I have around my parrot, because they're sensitive. Parrots are very sensitive. If you're not a bird person, if you haven't owned a bird, if you don't know anything about birds are very fragile. And you can't do things like light candles around them unless they're bird-safe candles. You can use bird-safe candles. You can't light candles, regular candles around them. You can't use anything that has Teflon, like the traditional non-stick cookware. You can't have that around parrots. You have to be very careful with anything aerosol. You can't have that around parrots. You can't have I have a hairspray actually that's aerosol. Have never used that around my parrot. You can't, because if they get any of that junk in their lungs, they can and they will die. Okay, so that's just a side note. I've always been cautious about the type of things that I even allow around my parrot, and I know, no candles and no aerosols and no air fresheners, and it's a big laundry list of things that you can't have around them because their lungs are very fragile, and if they get particulates in their lungs, they can die. And so that's just a little segue into what actually happened. She passed away due to smoke inhalation. And when the wildfires came in, I was really careful about not leaving our door or windows open, and just making sure she was protected. At night she has a blanket that goes over her cage, so that kind of helped too, I thought. But we live in a drafty house. But what I really think did it was, and I honestly, I feel like I murdered my bird, and I'm just so, I'm just so overloaded with guilt because I feel like what really killed her was not like the smoke pollution from the wildfires. It was my husband bought a smoker, and the day he used it, the day she passed away, he had started to smoke chicken, and it was the first time he'd used the smoker, and he smoked the chicken, but we had rain come in unexpectedly, and it didn't finish cooking in the smoker. So me wanting to solve the problem automatically thought, well, let's just finish it in the oven. Bad idea. Fatally bad for my 9-year-old Parrot. Because what I did not know, although we had the smoker far away from the house, and we knew that that smoke couldn't get into the cage, what I did not know, and what I was too stupid to, like, look up, is the fact that when you're reheating meat that's been smoked in your oven, it releases those particulates into the air, and that can kill your bird. So if you have a parrot, don't do that. Don't be stupid like I was. So let's rewind to when all this went down. So he was smoking the chicken. It had been smoking for hours. It wasn't done. The rain came. We had to close down the smoker and cycle it off or whatever. And, I was like, let's finish it in the oven. Stupid. So he brought it in, put it in the oven, and she seemed like her normal self. And then after a while, we went to go get ice cream. So we went and got ice cream, and when we got back, we were sitting on the couch, and I noticed that she was breathing heavy. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? And here's another side note, and I'm sorry there are so many side notes in this video, but parrots are very good at hiding illness and or injury. So usually by the time you notice that anything is wrong, you better get them to an avian vet, right away. Unfortunately, where I live, there was no avian vet open, and this was over the weekend, so the next opportunity for me to see the avian vet would have been Monday. And that's what my husband said. He was like, and this was when we first noticed that she was having issues. He's like, well, we'll take her to the vet. You can make an appointment, whatever. And I knew in my head, I'm like, this isn't going to end well. I automatically knew, because even though this was my first parrot, I knew that she was really bad off. Because, again, when parrots show that they're sick, they're really sick. And it got worse. So she was sitting on her perch, labored breathing, and she started literally falling off her perch. So I go over there, and I had her step up and I put her in the bottom of her cage to make sure she wasn't going to fall and break something or injure herself. And from there, I kid you not, guys, I kid you not, it was only maybe 10 minutes and she was gone. By the time I put her on the bottom of the cage, her breathing just got more labored, and she went. And she was only 9 years old. She should have lived a lot longer. Cockatiels can live to be 25. I think even some have been recorded as living 30 years. So she was not an old bird. She had a lot of life left in her, and because of my stupidity and my ignorance and my just... now she's gone. So that's what happened. And, you know, I don't know. Like I say, there are so many things that have been going on recently that I'm just like, I can't. So I thank God that I have the videos on here that I do have of her. And I mean, I had such a close bond. Not that I don't have close bonds with my dogs, I do, but if you're a bird owner or you've been around birds, then you know probably what I mean. Like when I say a bond with a parrot is just like on a whole other level. Again, I'm not minimizing the love I have for my dogs, but birds are so intelligent. They're so intelligent. And it's just the connection you have with them when you connect with a parrot, it's just on another level. And I don't know. I told myself I wasn't going to be this emotional, but because it's been a couple weeks. But that's the story, and I don't know. It's just been so hard, and it's like every time I turn around recently, like it's something. So again, this is Pet Grief and Loss Part 2. And I still haven't even, and this is how bad it is, like I still haven't even done anything with her cage. Like the day she passed away, I covered up the cage and I left it. Like I haven't been able to do anything with it. Like I mentally I can't. I know some people might be, well, it's just a bird. No, not to me. She was a family member, and I don't know. But I miss her. And we buried her in our backyard where I buried one of my cats. One of my cats was cremated. The other one was buried in our backyard. So we buried her next to that cat, and a couple people have been like, well, at least she had a good life when, you know, she was here. I'm like, that's not the point. The point is, it's my fault. Like, this one is actually my fault. I should have known better. I should have known, but again, take this as like a cautionary. If you have parrots, or if you're going to get a parrot, be very cautious about what you have around them as far as like what's, and never ever like reheat smoked meats in your oven. Don't do it. Don't. Like one stupid mistake like that. Birds are very fragile. They are so sensitive. And she had never had like a cold. Like I know some people who have had parrots that have had colds, and you know, and she never had egg binding, you guys. Like as a female parrot, she like got into a chronic egg laying state, and that was one thing I was trying to break her from by, you know, I've never put a nesting box in her cage. Never had anything with like mirrors or reflections. Those are things that can trigger birds to like lay eggs, and like they won't stop. And if you don't want your bird to be laying eggs, it can be a problem. And with cockatiels especially, like cockatiels are predisposed to experiencing egg binding, which if you don't know what that is, that's when the egg gets stuck and they can't pass the egg, and it can kill them. And I mean, you guys, like she was laying so many eggs. Never had an issue with that. And I think part of that, and I always gave myself like a pat on the back for this, but I always made sure to, for the time that she was in her cage, to make sure that, first of all, her cage was a flight cage. Second of all, I tried to make her environment how similar or as close to as it would be in the wild as possible. Cockatiels in the wild are ground feeders. They feed on the ground. So her food was on the floor level of the cage. Her water was somewhere else. And the reason I did that, okay, the reason I did that is because I wanted her, like, when she was in her cage, like when she wasn't out in the house, like flying around and stuff like that, when she was in her cage, she would have to go from point A to point B and exercise her muscles a lot to be able to, go from getting food to getting water. And I did that for a reason, because, parrots, when we keep them as pets, they have limited abilities to get that exercise to make sure their lungs and their muscles and their musculoskeletal systems are very healthy. And that is one thing that can cause a bird to egg bind, is if they're not nutritionally healthy, if they're not getting enough exercise. Those things are main contributors. So I did things like that, and then I make a stupid mistake, and I don't think, oh my gosh, I can't. I'm just so disgusted with myself, to be honest. Like, I really am, and I feel so guilty about it, and I feel like garbage, basically. So, but she had laid clutch after clutch of eggs. Like I say, she was in a chronic egg laying state, which that can happen. I don't think it was anything that I did to cause it. Hormones, like, birds can go through crazy hormone fluctuations, especially female parrots. And it just, because I knew the things not to do, don't stroke their whole bodies. You don't want to stimulate them in any way. So when you're petting a parrot, especially female parrots, you should only, like, give them scratches on the head and stuff. That's fine, but don't try and pet their whole bodies. Don't keep nesting box in their cages. Don't keep things that have reflections. Like I did, I stuck to all that stuff. And clutch after clutch of eggs she started laying, never had a problem. Not one single indication that she was ever having an issue passing an egg. And then I do something stupid and I kill her with smoke inhalation. So I think I'm going to wrap this up, because I thought this would be, cathartic, but it's not. It's just making me feel crappier. So yeah. Again, I keep thinking, well, I'm gonna upload more videos of the dogs and do more videos like that, but every time I think I'm gonna do that, something really, really crappy happens. I would like to do that. We do still have Cleo, Thor, and Salem. That is our pack right now. Our animals were down too. Sophie passed in February. Athena just passed in July. So that is that. I'm going to turn this off. But hopefully everyone is doing well. Hopefully you're doing better than I am. And this is 3 Shepherds in a Mutt signing out for now. Bye.